High availability for VMs is through what's called an availability set. So an availability set is about placing VMs in different hardware racks and Hyper-V hosts in the Azure data center. So it really just determines how your VMs are deployed. One of the items you specify when you set up an availability set is called a fault domain. So fault domains are about hardware deployment. Essentially, you could think of it as which server rack your VM is deployed to in the Azure data center. Obviously, this matters if power or network fails to a specific server rack, because if it does, other VMs that you have deployed in the availability set are still up and running. So the default number of fault domains is 2 when you set up an availability set. The maximum is 3. The other thing you specify when you set up an availability set is called an update domain. This is about software deployment. So essentially, this is which Hyper-V host your VM is deployed to. There are times when the Hyper-V host machine itself might need to be rebooted or updated. There are times when your VMs might need to be offline for some reason that's unrelated to your workload. That's just kind of life, right, with software. So with an update domain, Azure will spread your VMs among different Hyper-V hosts, and then it follows the rule of it only reboots one Hyper-V host update domain of yours at a time. So if you have all the VMs in a particular update domain might be rebooted at once, but VMs in different update domains are not rebooted until the first up domain is back up and running and online. So these two concepts together help protect you from outages, hardware outages and software outages. So update domains, the default number of them is 5, the max is 20. We'll next look at how to set up an availability set. You must have one created as you create the VM. You may not move a VM into an existing availability set. You have to tear it down and rebuild it. So this is definitely something you want to plan for in advance. Before we go to the example, let's discuss also what an availability zone is. So an availability zone is just an upgrade to availability sets. It spreads the VMs across at least 2 data centers in the same region. This is just extra protection because if the whole data center happens to go out for some reason, then you're still protected. It's important to note that availability sets and zones don't cost extra money because it's not extra hardware that you're deploying. It's just notations for Azure about how they will deploy your VMs. So let's look at the example about how to set one up. To create an availability set, I'll head over to the Azure Marketplace. Click Create here and fill out this first screen. I need to choose a resource group where my availability set will be deployed. Give a name to it. Choose a region. This region will determine the VMs. VMs can only be placed in an availability set in the same region as my availability set. And then the two main choices you make here are fault domains and update domains. Remember, fault domains protect you from hardware failures. The default is 2 fault domains. You can change it to 3 if you like. Update domains protect you from software maintenance reboots. The default there is 5. You can move it all the way up to 20. You get these settings the way you like, you review and create. And Azure creates an empty availability set, and then it's available for your use when you want to deploy VMs. So you can see my availability set has no VMs in it. And if I go to VM1, which is already exists in EastRG and EastUS, scroll down, under availability and scaling, no set is listed and it's not possible to add this after the VM is created. So planning ahead is key here. Let's create a new VM. Need to choose the same resource group and region as the existing availability set. And then under availability options, you can choose set. And there's the availability set that I have. So this is the only place where you can take a VM and put it in an availability set. The rest of the VM configuration is discussed in other videos.